Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to announce the arrival of the Secretary of State of the great state of Minnesota, the Honorable Steve Simon. Please rise.
The hour of 12 o'clock having arrived, and in obedience to the laws of the state of Minnesota, it becomes my duty as your Secretary of State to call the members of the Minnesota House of Representatives to order. I will appoint as Clerk Pro Tempore Representative-elect Paul Marquardt from District 4B. I now call on Dr. Cynthia Bailey Mans to offer a prayer.
I invite you to take a deep breath in and exhale. As you continue to breathe, be aware of all that surrounds you in this space, the presence of your loved ones, the sounds, the smells. Be aware of the excitement, the anticipation, the fear coursing through your body. Allow this experience to seep into your muscles, into your heart, because as you do your sacred work, you will need to return here often to remember why you chose to serve society in this profound manner. And as you listen to the beating of your heart, know that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Today, you create a community where your lives are intertwined, rooted in the reality that human dignity and freedom for all are human rights, as each of us are made in the image and likeness of the sacred. Today, you accept the responsibility to advocate for all Minnesotans in a manner that is compassionate, fierce, and just. I pray you embody discernment, clarity, wisdom, courage, humility, the ability to imagine what is yet to be, and to work with each other in the messiness of I don't know. I pray you rest your mind, body, and spirit. I pray you allow yourselves to be transformed so that you can heal, unite, and restore the lives of Minnesotans through your presence and actions. By being here today, my life is intertwined with yours, and I am praying for you. And in my faith in God, my faith in you will not be deterred. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Amen.
Amen.
A fierce warrior for justice, Representative Tom Rukavina, is with us here in spirit. Let us honor him with a moment of silence. Thank you.
Our chaplain for today is Dr. Cynthia Bailey Mans from St. Joan of Arc Catholic Community, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Members and guests, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk, you may be seated. Clerk pro tempore will call the roll by legislative district.
Good afternoon. House District 1A, Dan Fabian. Fabian, present. 1B, Deborah Keel. Keel, present. 2A, Matthew Russell. Russell, present. 2B, Steve Green. Green, present. 3A, Rob Eklund. Eklund, present. 3B, Mary Murphy. Murphy, present. 4A, Ben Lean. Lean, present. 4B, Paul Marquardt, present. Marquardt, present. 5A, John Purcell. Purcell, present. 5B, Sandy Lehman. Lehman, present. 6A, Julie Sandstead. Sandstead, present. 6B, Dave Lislegard. Lislegard, present. 7A, Jennifer Schultz. Schultz, present. 7B, Liz Olson. Olson, present. 8A, Bud Nornis. Nornis, present. 8B, Mary Franson. Franson, present. 9A, John M. Poston. Poston, present. 9B, Ron Kresha. Kresha, present. 10A, Josh Heinzeman. Heinzeman, present. 10B, Dale K. Lewick.
Present.
Lewick, present. 11A, Mike Sundin. Sundin, present. 11B, Jason Rarick. Rarick, present. 12A, Jeff Backer.
Present.
Backer, present. 12B, Paul H. Anderson.
Present.
Anderson, present. 13A, Lisa Demuth. Demuth, present. 13B, Tim O'Driscoll.
Present.
O'Driscoll, present. 14A, Tama Tice. Tice, present. 14B, Dan Wolgamott. Wolgamott, present. 15A, Sandra Erickson. Erickson, present. 15B, Shane Meckland. Meckland, present. 16A, Chris Swazinski. Swazinski, present. 16B, Paul Torkelson. Torkelson, present. 17A, Tim Miller. Miller, present. 17B, Dave Baker. Baker, present. 18A, Dean Erdahl. Erdahl, present. 18B, Glenn Grunhagen. Grunhagen, present. 19A, Jeff Brand. Present. Brand, present. 19B, Jack Considine. Considine, present. 20A, Bob Vogel. Vogel, present. 20B, Todd Leppert. Leppert, present. 21A, Barb Haley. Haley, present. 21B, Steve Dreskowski. Dreskowski, present. 22A, Joe Schumacher. Schumacher, present. 22B, Rod Hamilton. Hamilton, present. 23A, Bob Gunther. Gunther, present. 23B, Jeremy Munson. Munson, present. 24A, John Petersburg. Petersburg, present. 24B, Brian Daniels. Daniels, present. 25A, Dwayne Quam. Quam, present. 25B, Dwayne Sock. Sock, present. 26A, Tina Liebling. Liebling, present. 26B, Nels T. Pearson. Pearson, present. 27A, Peggy Bennett. Bennett, present. 27B, Jean Poppy. Poppy, present. 28A, Gene Pulowski Jr. Pulowski, present. 28B, Gregory M. Davids. Davids, present. 29A, Joe McDonald. McDonald, present. 29B, Marion O'Neill. O'Neill, present. 30A, Nick Zerwas. Zerwas, present. 30B, Eric Lucero. Lucero, present. 31A, Kurt Doubt. Doubt, present. 31B, Kelvin K. Barr. Barr, present. 32A, Brian Johnson. Johnson, present. 32B, Ann New. New, present. 33A, Jerry Hertos. Hertos, present. 33B, Kelly Morrison. Morrison, present. 34A, Kristin Robbins. Robbins, present. 34B, Kristin Bonner. Bonner, present. 35A, John Heinrich. Heinrich, present. 35B, Peggy Scott. Scott, present. 36A, Zach Stevenson. Stevenson, present. 36B, Melissa Hortman. Hortman, present. 37A, Aaron Cagle. Cagle, present. 37B, Nolan West. West, present. 38A, Linda Runbeck. Runbeck, present. 38B, Amy Wozlowick. Wozlowick, present. 39A, Bob Detmer. Detmer, present. 39B, Shelley Christensen. Christensen, present. 40A, Michael V. Nelson. Nelson, present. 40B, Samantha Vang. Vang, present. 41A, Connie Bernardi. Bernardi, present. 41B, Mary Kunish-Podine. Kunish-Podine, present. 42A, Kelly Moeller. Moeller, present. 42B, Jamie Becker-Finn. Becker-Finn, present. 43A, Peter M. Fisher. Fisher, present. 43B, Leon M. Lilly. Lilly, present. 44A, Jenny Cleavorn. Cleavorn, present. 44B, Patty Acomb. Acomb, present. 45A, Lyndon R. Carlson. Carlson, present. 45B, Mike Freiberg. Freiberg, present. 46A, Ryan Winkler. Winkler, present. 46B, Cheryl Joachim. Joachim, present. 47A, Jim Nash. Nash, present. 47B, Greg Bow. Bow, present. 48A, Lori Pryor. Pryor, present. 48B, Carly Kotisa Wittoon. Kotisa Wittoon, present. 49A, Heather Edelson. Edelson, present. 49B, Steve Elkins. Elkins, present. 50A, Michael Howard. Howard, present. 50B, Andrew Carlson. Carlson, present. 51A, Sandra Mason. Mason, present. 51B, Lori Halverson. Halverson, present. 52A, Rick Hansen. Hansen, present. 52B, Ruth Richardson. Richardson, present. 53A, Tou Xiong. Xiong, present. 53B, Steve Sandell. Sandell, present. 54A, Ann Claflin. Claflin, present. 54B, Tony Jurgens. Jurgens, present. 55A, Brad Tapke. Tapke, present. 55B, Tony Albright. Albright, present. 56A, Hunter Cantrell. Cantrell, present. 56B, Elise Mann. Mann, present. 57A, Robert Bierman. Bierman, absent. 57B, John Hewitt. Hewitt, present. 58A, John Kosnick. Kosnick, present. 58B, Patrick Garofalo. Garofalo, present. 59A, Fu Lee. Lee, present. 59B, Raymond Dean. Dean, present. 60A, Diane Loeffler. Loeffler, present. 60B, Mahmoud Noor. Noor, present. 61A, Frank Hornstein. Hornstein, present. 61B, Jamie Long. Long, present. 62A, Hodan Hassan. Hassan, present. 62B, Aisha Gomez. Gomez, present. 63A, Jim Davney. Davney, present. 63B, Jean Wagenius. Wagenius, present. 64A, Kaohly Her. Her, present. 64B, Dave Pinto. Pinto, present. 65A, Rena Moran. Moran, present. 65B, Carlos Mariani. Mariani, present. 66A, Alice Hausman. Hausman, present. 66B, John Lesh. Lesh, present. 67A, Tim Mahoney. Mahoney, present. 67B, Tou Xiong. Xiong, present.
There being 133 certificates of election on file, I call on the Honorable Paul Thiessen, Associate Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court, to come forward to administer the oath of office to the members-elect. Will members-elect please rise while Justice Thiessen administers the oath of office.
Please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which you have just been elected to the best of your ability, so help you God? Congratulations.
Members one and all, congratulations. And for new members, welcome to the Minnesota Legislature and welcome to Minnesota history. You will think about this moment often, whether you're here for 1 term or 20 terms. You have earned this. You've endured a lot of sacrifices, and so have your families. As one who served proudly and happily in this chamber alongside many of you for 10 years, I offer you my personal congratulations, and I know that all Minnesotans are hoping for your success as you steer the ship of state. The clerk pro tempore will take the roll to determine a quorum. The clerk pro tempore will close the roll. A quorum is present. We will now proceed to the election of Speaker of the House. Nominations are in order. I recognize Representative Murphy from District 3B for the purpose of a nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I rise to nominate Representative Melissa Hortman to the position of 65th Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Representative Lyndon Carlson and I have served with the last 15 speakers. Time flies. We are not old, we are experienced, and we are willing to share our talents. Our speakers, the 65 of them, and even before we became a state, we had speakers. Our speakers have been from all regions of the state and have had many diverse backgrounds. Most of the speakers have been fathers, but Melissa Hortman will be the only speaker who is a mom. 2 other speakers have been moms. She's the third. Moms are the heartbeat of all of our families. And every person in Minnesota had a mom. And trust us, trust the mothers, because they have all the strengths that a strong speaker of the House of Representatives needs. I went around to many of you on both sides of the aisle in the last few days, and I made some phone calls about what qualities do we need for a strong speaker, a mindful speaker. And I heard most often the following things. The speaker needs wisdom, strength, must be focused, disciplined, have a sense of humor, have vision, thoughtful, calm, fair. Think about the youth. Inclusive, energetic, tough, innovative. The speaker has to be a listener and fun and promote civility. Now, I agree with almost all of those that are talents that Melissa has. The qualities of the speaker are very important, but the principles of the speaker were also mentioned. They said that a principle that the speaker has to have is the ability to govern and look beyond the boundaries of her district. Look at the boundaries of all the districts and tear down the boundaries and make all Minnesotans one. Another principle was that the speaker has to listen for the voice of the minority. And the speaker has to hear the voice of the minority. The state's needs should be put ahead of any personal needs of any representative. And the people of the state as a whole has to be thought about in every decision. And the speaker should govern with equal parts of heart and mind. Melissa Hartman has these talents she's willing to share We know this because she's been preparing for the job of Speaker for her 2 years as minority leader and all the years that she has been here at the House of Representatives. Every single year, she got better and better and thoughtful, more and more thoughtful about what the needs of the state and the people are. In the last 2 years as minority leader, she has shown us that she can lead. And during the past summer, she led the caucus with Liz Olson, Representative Liz Olson from Duluth, in bringing a group of representatives from the House of Representatives of the state of Minnesota across the state to listening sessions in small towns and townships and big cities and the suburbs and the woods and down the rivers, and listening to the people, of thousands of people that turned out for coffee sessions and the listening groups and developing the Minnesota Values Plan. That were conversations with people of all ages and abilities, where the people spoke about what they thought was important for Minnesota. And in the next day to come that the House of Representatives will meet, we will have the introduction of the bills that were suggested by the people of Minnesota in the Minnesota Values Plan. And throughout this session, the bills and the committees that are meeting will be discussing and carrying on the conversations with Minnesotans, not only in this chamber, not only in the state office building where our committees are going to be meeting, but also out among the people. And we are going to continue to listen and continue to share and to develop solutions in the form of bills and collaboration. We know that people are involved. Everybody knows that. We were elected by the largest number of people ever to show up. Melissa Hartman can be a splendid, strong leader. She's a woman after my own heart. She gave an assignment. She gave an assignment to our caucus members. And I'm giving it to our friends across the aisle in the minority caucus, because I love assignments. And she said to our caucus at our retreat, before session starts, I want every one of you to read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? And I went to the bookstore and I saw, holy cow, it cost $20. So I went to the library and checked their copy out, and then I read it. And I thought, hey, there's some solutions in here, or some suggestions in here of how we can make a strong House of Representatives like we've never seen before. We could work together and come up with an adventure. And I went to the used bookstore and I bought my copy for $6.95 so I'd have a permanent copy, and then I return the library's copy. So anybody that wants to borrow it can. And I just will stop now and say, please join with me in an adventure to the future with the people of the state of Minnesota, with Melissa Hortman as our Speaker of the House.
Are there any seconds to the nomination? I recognize Representative Hornstein of District 61A.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary and members. I am thrilled to second the nomination of Representative Melissa Hortman to be the next Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Representative Hortman has served this House honorably for 14 years. An attorney with a background in her family's small business, she reflects the best of public service, and she is ready to lead. With her strong work ethic, her tenacity, her integrity, command of the details and nuances of public policy, and most importantly, her ability to connect with people from all walks of life and political orientations. Her inclusive and collaborative leadership style will serve this institution well in challenging political times. Now, nothing reflects those traits that I just mentioned more than Representative Hortman's path to winning her seat in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Now, you've all heard that adage that at first, if you don't succeed, try again. Well, in Representative Hortman's case, it was try, and try again. She won it on her third attempt. And the district she represents in Brooklyn Park is one that the pundits call a swing district. It's diverse both demographically and politically. And in representing that district, Representative Hortman has learned the value and importance of working on a bipartisan basis to solve problems, get results, and give all people a voice at the table of decision-making. Now, there are some special people who are joining us today on the House floor that know Representative Hortman as a daughter. They know me too, actually. As a daughter, wife, and mother. We're so happy that her parents, Harry and Linda, are here today, her husband, Mark, her son, Colin, and daughter, Sophie. We know you are so proud of her, and we share your pride. Now, in Representative Hortman, we have a unique, collaborative leader in a political moment that demands both civility and inclusion. With a Speaker Hortman, we have the opportunity to build a state where all people can work, live, and love, free from prejudice, fear, and discrimination. A state that values clean air and water, a good education, and where everyone has a chance to achieve the American dream in our beautiful and welcoming great state of Minnesota. Mr. Secretary, I appreciate the opportunity to place Representative Hortman's name in nomination, and members, I ask for your support.
I recognize Representative Stevenson of District 36A.
Mr. Secretary, it is a privilege and an honor beyond measure to second the nomination of my friend and mentor for over 15 years to be Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. In fact, as a first-term member, I can honestly say that in all my time as a member of this House, I have never been so thrilled. And I am thrilled because I know the person we will have as our Speaker. Melissa Hortman is a person with an insightful and curious mind. She's someone for whom facts and evidence matter more than partisanship and ideology. Even better, Melissa is someone who knows her facts and evidence, who takes the time to study and research an issue before coming to a conclusion. She's someone who knows how important it is to listen to others and who isn't afraid to change her mind if she comes up with new information. Melissa Hortman is also a strong person. She has been tested and persisted. She will not tire or flag. She will never stop fighting for all of Minnesota. Those of us who are lucky to know Melissa well know that she is also a direct person who has little tolerance for needless delay or unnecessary ceremony. In fact, I have no doubt that she is right now wondering just when I'll wrap this up. So I will. Mr. Secretary, I'm joined today on the floor by my two little girls who are 6 and 3. In fact, they're actually on the floor at the moment. Parents of young children will understand that this is a difficult enterprise to have them sit this long. But in a few minutes, I'll make sure they come up to see, because I want them to see a strong and brilliant woman take that gavel and become Speaker of this House. Thank you.
I'll now recognize Representative Haley from District 21A for the purpose of a nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Members, I am honored to rise today to place in nomination Representative Kurt Daudt from District 31A to serve as Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Serving alongside Representative Daudt the last 2 years, I have seen his integrity and commitment to public service that he brings to this body. His dedication to delivering on the priorities of his constituents and of all Minnesotans has earned him the respect of his colleagues in this chamber. He has led the Minnesota House with humility and honesty and understanding. He knows that each member brings unique ideas to the Capitol, and he has strived to ensure that every voice has had the opportunity to be heard and that every member has had the chance to carry out their work on behalf of their constituents. I'm proud of the progress that Minnesota has made under Speaker Daudt's leadership. Working with both the Senate and the governor, we passed historic tax cuts that have now helped to boost Minnesota's economy and drive our unemployment rate to record lows. We successfully lowered healthcare costs in the individual market for 2 solid years in a row. We invested historic amounts of money in roads and bridge infrastructure, and we finally delivered funding on very key projects like 3 new veterans homes in Greater Minnesota, as well as funding Highway 14 and Highway 23. It's these priorities and accomplishments that we can continue to build on by electing Representative Daudt as House Speaker. We can count on him to advocate and deliver on the priorities of all Minnesotans. His leadership over the past 4 years makes me confident that he will continue and to work relentlessly to improve our state during the next 2. Again, I stand here proudly to ask you to join me in support of Kurt Daudt for Speaker of the House.
I recognize Representative Fabian of District 1A.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Welcome back, everyone. Members and guests, it is truly an honor and to second the nomination of my friend, Representative Kurt Daudt, for Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives. Representative Daudt has served the state of Minnesota and his district with honor and integrity, stressing the importance of making sure that every voice is heard and gaining the respect of his colleagues, his constituents through tireless work and an ability to deliver on the priorities for Minnesotans. During his career in public service, Representative Daudt has made it his mission to improve the lives of families in his district and across our state. He understands that hardworking Minnesotans want good paying jobs, affordable health care, and great schools for our kids. His values are Minnesota's values. Representative Daudt has demonstrated these values by working hard to pass legislation that saved the individual health care market, reduced taxes for millions of Minnesota families, reforming and investing in our schools, and put Minnesota's economy on a path to sustained growth. He believes that despite the successes of the last 4 years, we cannot rest, and that truly Minnesota's best days are ahead. This biennium will present new challenges as we work to pass a 2-year state budget that balances the priorities of every region of the state of Minnesota and continue our work on health care, taxes, and many other issues. He knows that with the only divided government in the nation, we'll need to work together to meet these challenges and work productively with the new administration. His leadership over the last 4 years gives me certainty that he will continue to put the interests of Minnesota first. I'm extremely proud to call Kurt Daudt my friend, and it is an honor and a privilege to support and second his nomination to be the next Speaker of the House. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Are there any further nominations for Speaker of the House? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? If not, I declare the nominations closed. The 2 nominated candidates for Speaker of the House are Representative Hortman and Representative Daudt. The clerk pro tempore will call the roll on the election of Speaker of the House.
The roll call will be in alphabetical order. Acomb. Acomb votes Hortman. Albright. Albright votes Daudt. Anderson. Anderson votes Daudt. Backer. Backer votes Daudt. Bonner. Bonner votes Hortman. Barr. Barr passes. Baker. Baker votes Daudt. Becker Finn. Becker Finn votes Hortman. Bennett. Bennett votes Daudt. Bernardi. Bernardi votes Hortman. Bierman, absent. Bowe. Bowe votes Daudt. Brand. Brand votes Hortman. Cantrell. Cantrell votes Hortman. Carlson A. Carlson A votes Hortman. Carlson L. Carlson L votes Hortman. Christensen. Christensen votes Hortman. Claflin. Claflin votes Hortman. Considine. Considine votes Hortman. Daniels. Daniels votes Daudt. Daudt. Daudt votes Daudt. Davids. Davids votes Daudt. Davney. Davney votes Hortman. Dean. Dean votes Hortman. Demuth. Demuth votes Daudt. Detmer. Detmer votes Daudt. Drazkowski. Drazkowski pass. Eklund. Eklund votes Hortman. Edelson. Edelson votes Hortman. Elkins. Elkins votes Hortman. Erickson. Erickson votes doubt. Fabian. Fabian votes doubt. Fisher. Fisher votes Hortman. Franson. Franson votes doubt. Freiberg. Freiberg votes Hortman. Garofalo. Garofalo votes doubt. Gomez. Gomez votes Hortman. Green. Green votes doubt. Grossel. Grossel votes doubt. Grunhagen. Grunhagen votes doubt. Gunther. Gunther votes doubt. Haley. Haley votes doubt. Halverson. Halverson votes Hortman. Hamilton. Hamilton votes doubt. Hanson. Hanson votes Hortman. Hassan. Hassan votes Hortman. Hausman. Hausman passes. Heinrich. Heinrich, doubt. Heinzelman. Heinzelman votes doubt. Her. Her votes Hortman. Hertos. Hertos votes doubt. Hornstein. Hornstein votes Hortman. Hortman. Hortman votes Hortman. Howard. Howard votes Hortman. Hewitt. Hewitt votes Hortman. Johnson. Johnson votes doubt. Jurgens. Jurgens votes doubt. Keel. Keel votes doubt. Cleavorn. Cleavorn votes Hortman. Cagle. Cagle votes Hortman. Kotisa Wittoon. Kotisa Wittoon votes Hortman. Kosnick. Kosnick votes doubt. Krisha. Krisha votes doubt. Kunish Podine. Kunish Podine votes Hortman. Lehman. Lehman votes doubt. Lee. Lee votes Hortman. Lesh. Lesh votes Hortman. Liebling. Liebling votes Hortman. Lean. Lean votes Hortman. Lilly. Lilly votes Hortman. Leppert. Leppert votes Hortman. Lislegard. Lislegard votes Hortman. Loeffler. Loeffler votes Hortman. Long. Long votes Hortman. Lucero. Lucero passes. Lewick. Lewick votes doubt. Mahoney. Mahoney votes Hortman. Mann. Mann votes Hortman. Mariani. Mariani votes Hortman. Marquardt. Hortman. Marquardt votes Hortman. Mason. Mason votes Hortman. McDonald. McDonald votes doubt. Meckland. Meckland votes doubt. Miller. Miller passes. Moeller. Moeller votes Hortman. Moran. Moran votes Hortman. Morrison. Morrison votes Hortman. Munson. Munson passes. Murphy. Murphy votes Hortman. Nash. Nash votes doubt. Nelson. Nelson votes Hortman. New. New votes doubt. Nor. Nor votes Hortman. Nornis. Nornis votes doubt. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll votes doubt. Olson. Olson votes Hortman. O'Neill. O'Neill votes doubt. Pulowski. Pulowski votes Hortman. Purcell. Purcell votes Hortman. Petersburg. Petersburg votes doubt. Pearson. Pearson votes doubt. Pinto. Pinto votes Hortman. Poppy. Poppy votes Hortman. Poston. Poston votes doubt. Pryor. Pryor votes Hortman. Quam. Quam votes doubt. Rarick. Rarick votes doubt. Richardson. Richardson votes Hortman. Robbins. Robbins votes doubt. Runbeck. Runbeck votes doubt. Sandell. Sandell votes Hortman. Sandsted. Sandsted votes Hortman. Sock. Sock votes Hortman. Schumacher. Schumacher votes doubt. Schultz. Schultz votes Hortman. Scott. Scott votes doubt. Stevenson. Stevenson votes Hortman. Sundin. Sundin votes Hortman. Swazinski. Swazinski votes doubt. Tabke. Tabke votes Hortman. Tice. Tice votes doubt. Torkelson. Torkelson votes doubt. Erdahl. Erdahl votes doubt. Vang. Vang votes Hortman. Vogel. Vogel votes doubt. Wagenius. Wagenius votes Hortman. Wozlowick. Wozlowick votes Hortman. West. West votes doubt. Winkler. Winkler votes Hortman. Wolgamott. Wolgamott votes Hortman. Xiong J. Xiong J votes Hortman. Xiong T. Xiong T votes Hortman. Joachim. Joachim votes Hortman. Surwas. Surwas votes doubt. I will read those who passed on the first roll call. Barr. Barr passes. Dryskowski. Dryskowski passes. Hausman. Hausman passes. Lucero. Lucero passes. Miller. Miller passes. Munson. Munson passes.
The results of the roll call on the election of Speaker of the Minnesota House are as follows. Representative Hortman, 73 votes. Representative Daudt, 54 votes. I therefore declare Representative Hortman duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 2019-2020 session. I have appointed the following members to a committee that just escorted the Speaker-elect to the rostrum. They were Representatives Garofalo, Poppy, Lilly, Hamilton, and Loeffler. I now call on the Honorable Paul Thiessen, Associate Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court, to give the oath of office to the Speaker-elect.
Please raise your right hand. Do you, Melissa Hortman, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which you have just been elected to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It is my great honor and privilege to present this gavel to you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Congrats. You earned it.
Should need it for a couple minutes. Well, thank you so much. I have so many thank yous today. Especially I would like to thank Justice Paul Thiessen, former Speaker of the House, a brilliant leader who, when he led this body, kept our eyes always focused on the horizon. Thank you so much for being here today. Secretary of State Steve Simon, one of my classmates from 2004, and thank you to all of my classmates from 2004, not only for your public service, but for your friendship. We're always a little bit closer to the people we get elected the same year as. I'd like to thank some special guests who have joined us in the chamber today. Secretary of State Joan Grow served in this body and then honorably served the state of Minnesota as our Secretary of State for 24 years. She has mentored countless people running for office in Minnesota, and she is the embodiment of class and grace. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to thank former Speaker of the House, Margaret Anderson Kaohly Her, for teaching me to be a leader who lifts up others and provides opportunities for others to lead. Thank you so much for being here today. Former Speaker of the House, Dee Long, who broke the glass ceiling and made the path easier for the rest of us, thank you for being here today. Thank you to the friends and families of all the members in this body. We could not do what we do without your love and support. Thank you to everyone who could be here with us today, and thank you for all those people who helped us along the way and couldn't join us here today. I'm especially thankful for my family. My dad, Harry, who taught me the value of hard work and the importance of the golden rule. Whether it was the customers of our business, the employees of our business, our family, or members of our community, my dad always pushed me to live by the golden rule and think of things from the other person's point of view and treat people how I would want to be treated. Thank you, Dad. My mom, Linda, taught me that to whom much is given, much is expected, and that the gifts that God has given me of good fortune and good health mean that I have an obligation to give back. And she role modeled that my whole life. She was my Girl Scout leader. She was a volunteer at Park Terrace Elementary School, becoming the president of the Parent-Teacher Association. She gave countless hours to our church, St. Timothy's Catholic Church in Blaine, and really years of her life to the Children's Hospital Association. Thank you for role modeling public service for me. My daughter, Sophie, who is my best friend and my biggest cheerleader. She's my fashion consultant, and she teaches me about things like dry shampoo. Thank you, Sophie. My son, Colin, who's my little buddy, my 6'2" bearded little buddy, who taught me the most important thing a person can learn, which is to love your children completely and watch them bloom. Thank you, Colin. But most of all, to my husband, Mark, the love of my life, without whom I could not do this work that I love so much. After I lost twice, and any sane person would have given up, Mark fully supported me. He always believed in me. I love you, Mark. Thank you. To my colleagues, thank you so much for entrusting me with the privilege and honor of being your speaker. Steve Swigum was the first speaker I served under, and I thought he did a really good job of showing us that the speaker is the speaker of the Minnesota House, not the speaker of the DFL House or the speaker of the Republican House, but the speaker of the Minnesota House. The campaign is over. It's time to take off the blue jerseys and the red jerseys, and it's our job to govern here together as Team Minnesota. That doesn't mean that we will govern without conflict. We are not here to avoid conflict. We are here precisely to have conflict. It's an important part of the democratic process. But if we can have that conflict with good humor and humility, we'll be better off, and Minnesota will be better off. It's important that we all recognize we want the same thing for Minnesota. We want it to be the best state it can possibly be, and we're all here for the same reason, which is to serve Minnesotans. We share a trust. Those who came before us built Minnesota to be a phenomenally successful state, and it is our obligation to keep it that way and maybe even improve it. Let's be leaders that our children's children will be grateful served. Let's protect the air and the water and the climate for future generations so that they will have walleye in clean lakes and maples in healthy forests, and that Minnesotans can continue to grow the crops that feed the world. We can do all of this while keeping our communities safe and our economy strong and ensuring that every Minnesotan has the education, the health care, and the economic prosperity they deserve. Hardworking Minnesotans deserve a hardworking legislature. I look forward to the work and the challenges ahead. Let's get to work. The next order of business is the election of the chief clerk. I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Lesh, for the purpose of making a nomination.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to place in a nomination for the position of chief clerk of the Minnesota House of Representatives my friend, my constituent, Patrick Duffy Murphy. Now, Patrick Murphy has been a lifetime resident of St. Paul. He lives in Como Park with his wife, Dawn Squilacci, and their son, Jorge, who's a page in the sergeant's office. He was sitting right there. I was going to point him out, but are you here? Where is he? There you are, Jorge, his son, whom he's very proud of. He's a graduate of St. Thomas University in 1977 with a degree in journalism. He started as a page in the front office of the chief clerk out there, who was then Ed Burdick, who I believe was chief clerk since statehood. He started in 1978, so he has 40 years of service to the Minnesota House of Representatives, still not quite as long as Representative Carlson or Representative Murphy, I think, but a long time. He was promoted to House Journal editor at the front desk up there in 1981, and he was first elected first assistant chief clerk in 2005, and was reelected every biennium thereafter until the House elected him chief clerk in 2015 and again in 2017. Now, Mr. Murphy is an active member of the American Society of Legislative Clerks and Secretaries, and he's always excited to go to those meetings, aren't you? Because it sounds exciting to me. This Thursday, or this weekend, this building will be filled with Minnesota youth participating in YMCA's Youth in Government. And Patrick Murphy reminds us that the most important word in that title is youth. Now, these youth of the state of Minnesota will be sitting at all of your desks. They'll be sitting here and over in the Senate, and they'll be participating in model government, teaching our next generation leaders how to carry that mantle. And Patrick Murphy is a key participant in that and has been a volunteer for years. In fact, since 2008, he has served on the Minnesota YMCA Youth in Government State Board, for whom he is co-delegation director for Como Park High School, Highland Park High School, and St. Paul Central High School. Now, when he first began in this role over 12 years ago, Youth in Government had 0 delegations in St. Paul. And now it has 3 with over 80 students participating. He spends much of his time, talent, and treasure to ensure that this next generation is prepared to lead us with good policy that is crafted with integrity and foresight. Now, any of you who've served here for more than a term, you know that you are an irascible and mercurial rabble, but for the past 4 years, Mr. Murphy has handled your shenanigans like a pro surfer rides a wave. He is a Minnesotan of distinction whose public service has earned him the admiration of his colleagues and whose tenacious professionalism has earned him another term as our chief clerk. So, Madam Speaker, I am honored to place the name of Patrick Duffy Murphy into nomination as the chief clerk of the Minnesota House of Representatives.
Representative Lesh nominates Patrick Duffy Murphy for the office of Chief Clerk of the Minnesota House of Representatives. I recognize Representative Dowd from District 31A to second the nomination.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. It is my honor, and I'm very proud to second the nomination of my friend Pat Murphy to continue his service as our Chief Clerk here in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Having worked closely with Pat during my 4 years as Speaker, His character, his integrity, his dedication to this institution are evident to all who meet and work with him. Pat started as a page in the House back in 1978. I was 5. And today he's serving in his 40th year in this chamber, having risen all the way to the position of chief clerk. Pat, just like the rest of our nonpartisan front desk staff, work long hours with exceptional professionalism to make this house run, and allowing all of us to do the work on behalf of our constituents and to do the people's work. We are successful because of people like Pat, and I once again am proud to second the nomination for Pat Murphy to continue his distinguished service as Chief Clerk of the Minnesota House of Representatives.
Representative Doubt seconds the nomination of Patrick Duffy Murphy for the office of Chief Clerk. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? If not, I declare the nominations closed. The clerk pro tem will call the roll on the election of the chief clerk.
Acomb. Acomb votes Murphy. Albright. Albright votes Murphy. Anderson. Anderson votes Murphy. Backer. Backer votes Murphy. Bonner. Bonner votes Murphy. Barr. Barr votes Murphy. Baker. Baker votes Murphy. Becker Finn. Becker Finn votes Murphy. Bennett. Bennett votes Murphy. Bernardi. Bernardi votes Murphy. Bierman absent. Bowe. Bowe votes Murphy. Brand. Brand votes Murphy. Cantrell. Cantrell votes Murphy. Carlson A. Carlson A votes Murphy. Carlson L. Carlson L votes Murphy. Christensen. Christensen votes Murphy. Claflin. Claflin votes Murphy. Considine. Considine votes Murphy. Daniels. Daniels votes Murphy. Doubt. Doubt votes Murphy. Davids. Davids votes Murphy. Dabney. Dabney votes Murphy. Dean. Dean votes Murphy. Demuth. Demuth votes Murphy. Detmer. Detmer votes Murphy. Draskowski. Draskowski votes Murphy. Eklund. Eklund votes Murphy. Edelson. Edelson votes Murphy. Elkins. Elkins votes Murphy. Erickson. Erickson votes Murphy. Fabian. Fabian votes Murphy. Fisher. Fisher votes Murphy. Franzen. Franzen votes Murphy. Freiberg. Freiberg votes Murphy. Garofalo. Garofalo votes Murphy. Gomez. Gomez votes Murphy. Green. Green votes Murphy. Grossel. Grossel votes Murphy. Grunhagen. Grunhagen votes Murphy. Gunther. Gunther votes Murphy. Haley. Haley votes Murphy. Halverson. Halverson votes Murphy. Hamilton. Hamilton votes Murphy. Hanson. Hanson votes Murphy. Hassan. Hassan votes Murphy. Hausman. Hausman votes Murphy. Heinrich. Heinrich votes Murphy. Heinzeman. Heinzeman votes Murphy. Her. Her votes Murphy. Herta Murphy. Cagle. Cagle votes Murphy. Kotisa Watoon. Kotisa Watoon votes Murphy. Kosnick. Kosnick votes Murphy. Krisha. Krisha votes Murphy. Kunish Podine. Kunish Podine votes Murphy. Lehman. Lehman votes Murphy. Lee. Lee votes Murphy. Lesh. Lesh votes Murphy. Liebling. Liebling votes Murphy. Lean. Lean votes Murphy. Lily. Lily votes Murphy. Leppert. Leppert votes Murphy. Lislegard. Lislegard votes Murphy. Loeffler. Loeffler votes Murphy. Long. Long votes Murphy. Lucero. Lucero votes Murphy. Lewick. Lewick votes Murphy. Mahoney. Mahoney votes Murphy. Mann. Mann votes Murphy. Mariani. Mariani passes. Marquardt. Murphy. Marquardt votes Murphy. Mason. Mason votes Murphy. McDonald. McDonald votes Murphy. Meckland. Meckland votes Murphy. Miller. Miller votes Murphy. Moeller. Moeller votes Murphy. Moran. Moran votes Murphy. Morrison. Morrison votes Murphy. Munson. Munson votes Murphy. Murphy. Murphy votes Murphy. Nash. Nash votes Murphy. Nelson. Nelson votes Murphy. New. New votes Murphy. Nor. Nor votes Murphy. Nornis. Nornis votes Murphy. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll votes Murphy. Olson. Olson votes Murphy. O'Neill. O'Neill votes Murphy. Pulowski. Pulowski votes Murphy. Purcell. Purcell votes Murphy. Petersburg. Petersburg votes Murphy. Pearson. Pearson votes Murphy. Pinto. Pinto votes Murphy. Poppy. Poppy votes Murphy. Poston. Poston votes Murphy. Pryor. Pryor votes Murphy. Quam. Quam votes Murphy. Rarick. Rarick votes Murphy. Richardson. Richardson votes Murphy. Robbins. Robbins votes Murphy. Runbeck. Runbeck votes Murphy. Sandell. Sandell votes Murphy. Sandsted. Sandsted votes Murphy. Salk. Salk votes Murphy. Schumacher. Schumacher votes Murphy. Schultz. Schultz votes Murphy. Scott. Scott votes Murphy. Stevenson. Stevenson votes Murphy. Sundin. Sundin votes Murphy. Swazinski. Swazinski votes Murphy. Tabke. Tabke votes Murphy. Tice. Tice votes Murphy. Torkelson. Torkelson votes Murphy. Erdahl. Erdahl votes Murphy. Vang. Vang votes Murphy. Vogel. Vogel votes Murphy. Wagenius. Wagenius votes Murphy. Wozlowick. Wozlowick votes Murphy. West. West votes Murphy. Winkler. Winkler votes Murphy. Wolgamott. Wolgamott votes Murphy. Xiong J. Xiong J votes Murphy. Xiong T. Xiong T votes Murphy. Joachim. Joachim votes Murphy. Zerwas. Zerwas votes Murphy. Speaker Hortman. Speaker Hortman votes Murphy. Mariani. Passes.
There being 132 votes for Murphy and 0 votes against, Patrick Duffy has been elected the chief clerk. Will the chief clerk-elect please come forward to take the oath of office? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which you have just been elected to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Good job, Paul.
Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Winkler offers the following resolution on the election of the other officers. The chief clerk will read the resolution.
Winkler offers the following resolution and moves its adoption. Resolved that the election of other officers, with the exception of the Chief Sergeant-at-Arms, be made on one roll call unless there should be more than one nomination for any office.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler, to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this allows us to vote the other officers in with one roll call instead of hearing Patrick Murphy speak even longer with each of our names. So I would urge a yes vote.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. I recognize Representative Winkler from District 46A, who will make a series of nominations.
Madam Speaker and members, this is the nomination for the remaining House staff, the bipartisan staff that makes this institution run as well as it does. For First Assistant Chief Clerk, I nominate Timothy M. Johnson. For Second Assistant Chief Clerk, I nominate Gail C. Romanowski. For Assistant Sergeant-at-Arms, Erica Reynoldson. Assistant Sergeant-at-Arms, Andrew Olson. And for Index Clerk, Carl Hamry.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I declare nominations closed. The chief clerk will call the roll on the election of the other officers. You may say slate if you desire.
Acomb. Acomb votes slate. Albright. Albright votes slate. Anderson. Anderson votes slate. Backer. Backer votes slate. Bonner. Bonner votes slate. Barr. Barr votes slate. Baker. Baker votes slate. Becker Finn. Becker Finn votes slate. Bennett. Bennett votes slate. Bernardi. Bernardi votes slate. Bierman. Absent. Bow. Bow votes slate. Brand. Brand votes slate. Cantrell. Cantrell votes slate. Carlson A. Carlson A votes slate. Carlson L. Carlson L votes slate. Christensen. Christensen votes slate. Claflin. Claflin votes slate. Considine. Considine votes slate. Daniels. Daniels votes slate. Doubt. Doubt votes slate. Davids. Davids votes slate. Davney. Davney votes slate. Dean. Dean votes slate. Demuth. Demuth votes slate. Detmer. Detmer votes slate. Drazkowski. Drazkowski votes slate. Eklund. Eklund votes slate. Edelson. Edelson votes slate. Elkins. Elkins votes slate. Erickson. Erickson votes slate. Fabian. Fabian votes slate. Fisher. Fisher votes slate. Franson. Franson votes slate. Freiberg. Freiberg votes slate. Garofalo. Garofalo votes slate. Gomez. Gomez votes slate. Green. Green votes slate. Grossel. Grossel votes slate. Grunhagen. Grunhagen votes slate. Gunther. Gunther votes slate. Haley. Haley votes slate. Halverson. Halverson votes slate. Hamilton. Hamilton votes slate. Hanson. Hanson votes slate. Hassan. Hassan votes slate. Hausman. Hausman? Slate. Hausman votes slate. Heinrich. Heinrich votes slate. Heinzemann. Heinzemann votes slate. Her. Her votes slate. Hertas. Hertas votes slate. Hornstein. Hornstein votes slate. Howard. Howard votes slate. Hewitt. Hewitt votes slate. Johnson. Johnson votes slate. Juergens. Juergens votes slate. Keel. Keel votes slate. Cleavorn. Cleavorn votes slate. Cagle. Cagle votes slate. Kautiza Watun. Kautiza Watun votes slate. Kosnick. Kosnick votes slate. Kreshaw. Kreshaw votes slate. Kunish Podine. Kunish Podine votes slate. Lehman. Lehman votes slate. Lee. Lee votes slate. Lesh. Lesh votes slate. Liebling. Liebling votes slate. Lean. Lean votes slate. Lilly. Lilly votes slate. Lippert. Lippert votes slate. Lislegard. Lislegard votes slate. Loeffler. Loeffler votes slate. Long. Long votes slate. Lucero. Lucero votes slate. Lewick. Lewick votes slate. Mahoney. Mahoney votes slate. Mann. Mann votes slate. Mariani. Marquardt. Marquardt votes slate. Mason. Mason votes slate. McDonald. McDonald votes slate. Mecklin. Mecklin votes slate. Miller. Miller votes slate. Moeller. Moeller votes slate. Moran. Moran votes slate. Morrison. Morrison votes slate. Munson. Munson votes slate. Murphy. Murphy votes slate. Nash. Nash votes slate. Nelson. Nelson votes slate. New. New votes slate. Knorr. Knorr votes slate. Nornis. Nornis votes slate. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll votes slate. Olson. Olson votes slate. O'Neill. O'Neill votes slate. Pulowski. Pulowski votes slate. Purcell. Purcell votes slate. Petersburg. Petersburg votes slate. Pearson. Pearson votes slate. Pinto. Pinto votes slate. Poppy. Poppy votes slate. Poston. Poston votes slate. Pryor. Pryor votes slate. Quam. Quam votes slate. Rarick. Rarick votes slate. Richardson. Richardson votes slate. Robbins. Robbins votes slate. Runbeck. Runbeck votes slate. Sandell. Sandell votes slate. Sandsted. Sandsted votes slate. Salk. Salk votes slate. Schumacher. Schumacher votes slate. Schultz. Schultz votes slate. Scott. Scott votes slate. Stevenson. Stevenson votes slate. Sundin. Sundin votes slate. Swazinski. Swazinski votes slate. Tabke. Tabke votes slate. Tice. Tice votes slate. Torkelson. Torkelson slate. Erdahl. Erdahl slate. Vang. Vang slate. Vogel. Vogel slate. Wagenius. Wagenius slate. Wozlowick. Wozlowick slate. West. West slate. Winkler.
Slate.
Winkler slate. Walgamot. Walgamot slate. Zhang J. Zhang J slate. Zhang T. Zhang T slate. Joachim. Joachim slate. Zerwas. Zerwas slate. Speaker Hartman. Speaker Hartman slate. Mariani.
A majority of those members having voted for slate, I therefore declare those nominated have been duly elected. Will you please come forward to take the oath of office? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which you have just been elected to the best of your ability, so help you God? Thank you. Congratulations on your new positions. The next order of business is the election of the Chief Sergeant at Arms. I recognize Representative Winkler from District 46A for the purpose of a nomination.
Madam Speaker and members, I nominate Robert Bob Morrison for the Chief Sergeant at Arms position. We all who have been here for any length of time know that Mr. Morrison is a strictly nonpartisan, helpful, respected person in this institution. He's one of the best additions that I've seen in the time that I have served here, and I personally want to commend Representative Doubt and the House Republican majority for having brought Mr. Morrison in to serve as our Chief Sergeant at Arms. A few things you might like to know about our Chief Sergeant at Arms. He served for 28 years in the Minnesota State Patrol from 1986 to 2015, including stints on the Governor's Security Detail. He protects our postage stamps in the State Capitol building. And I'm not even going to tell you how many thousands of dollars worth of postage stamps are sitting down in the basement of the state office building, but he has the only key. I also would, spent a little time visiting with Mr. Morrison today and learned a couple of interesting things. First of all, he likes fishing up north at his place. That's not so unusual in Minnesota. But he is also a phenomenal singer. In fact, he has sung the national anthem to open Minnesota Twins games 27 times. And I think Vikings and other games as well. So, Madam Speaker, we typically open our days with a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. But one of these days, if we wanted to try out the Star-Spangled Banner, I have a candidate in mind. And I would urge members to vote for Robert Morrison to be the Chief Sergeant at Arms.
Thank you. I recognize Representative Doubt from District 31A to second the nomination.
I actually want to second the nomination to have him do the Star-Spangled Banner for us sometime. No, it's my honor, and I'm very proud to second the nomination for Bob Morrison to continue to serve as our Chief Sergeant at Arms. He has done a phenomenal job. Bob served the state of Minnesota as a law enforcement officer for 34 years before coming to the Minnesota House. And 4 years ago, when I was elected Speaker, one of the first decisions I made was to take our Sergeant-at-Arms office to a permanent, nonpartisan office, and really with an emphasis on security and safety, and that's why we drew on someone who had such an extensive law enforcement background. Bob and his team have done a great job in their work to make the Sergeant's office as professional and well-run operation, and ensuring that the State Office Building and our chambers are safe places for us to carry out the people's work and a safe place for the public to visit every day here at the Capitol. So it's my honor to second the nomination of Bob Morrison to continue to serve as our Chief Sergeant-at-Arms.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I declare nominations are closed. The clerk will call the roll on the election of the Chief Sergeant-at-Arms.
Acomb. Acomb votes Morrison. Albright. Albright, Morrison. Anderson. Anderson, Morrison. Backer. Backer, Morrison. Bonner. Bonner, Morrison. Barr. Barr, Morrison. Baker. Baker, Morrison. Becker, Finn. Becker, Finn, Morrison. Bennett. Bennett, Morrison. Bernardi. Bernardi, Morrison. Bierman. Bowe. Bowe votes Morrison. Brand. Brand votes Morrison. Cantrell. Cantrell votes Morrison. Carlson A. Carlson A votes Morrison. Carlson L. Carlson L votes Morrison. Christensen. Christensen votes Morrison. Claflin. Claflin votes Morrison. Considine. Considine votes Morrison. Daniels. Daniels. Daniels votes Morrison. Doubt. Doubt votes Morrison. Davids. Davids votes Morrison. Davney. Davney votes Morrison. Dean. Dean votes Morrison. Demuth. Demuth votes Morrison. Detmer. Detmer votes Morrison. Drazkowski. Drazkowski, Morrison. Eklund. Eklund, Morrison. Edelson. Edelson, Morrison. Elkins. Elkins, Morrison. Erickson. Erickson, Morrison. Fabian. Fabian, Morrison. Fisher. Fisher, Morrison. Franzen. Franzen, Morrison. Freiberg. Freiberg, Morrison. Garofalo. Garofalo, Morrison. Gomez. Gomez, Morrison. Green. Green, Morrison. Grossel. Grossel, Morrison. Grunhagen. Grunhagen, Morrison. Gunther. Gunther, Morrison. Haley. Haley, Morrison. Halverson. Halverson, Morrison. Hamilton. Hamilton, Morrison. Hanson. Hanson, Morrison. Hassan. Hassan, Morrison. Hausman. Hausman, Morrison. Heinrich. Heinrich, Morrison. Heinzeman. Heinzeman, Morrison. Her. Her, Morrison. Hertos. Hertos, Morrison. Hornstein. Hornstein, Morrison. Howard. Howard, Morrison. Hewitt. Hewitt, Morrison. Johnson. Johnson, Morrison. Jurgens. Jurgens, Morrison. Keel. Keel, Morrison. Cleavorn. Cleavorn, Morrison. Cagle. Cagle, Morrison. Katiswatun. Katiswatun, Morrison. Kosnick. Kosnick, Morrison. Creshaw. Creshaw, Morrison. Kunish Podine. Kunish Podine, Morrison. Lehman. Lehman, Morrison. Lee. Lee, Morrison. Lesh. Lesh, Morrison. Liebling. Liebling, Morrison. Lean. Lean, Morrison. Lilly. Lilly, Morrison. Lippert. Lippert, Morrison. Lislegard. Lislegard, Morrison. Loeffler. Loeffler, Morrison. Long. Long, Myerson, Lucero. Lucero, Myerson, Lewick. Lewick, Myerson, Mahoney. Mahoney, Myerson, Mann. Mann, Myerson, Mariani. Marquardt. Marquardt, Myerson, Mason. Mason, Myerson, McDonald. McDonald, Myerson, Mecklin. Mecklin, Myerson, Miller. Miller, Myerson, Moeller. Moeller, Myerson, Moran. Moran, Myerson, Morrison. Morrison, Myerson, Munson. Munson, Myerson, Murphy. Murphy, Myerson, Nash. Nash, Myerson, Nelson. Nelson, Myerson, New. New, Myerson, Nor. Nor, Myerson, Nornis. Nornis, Myerson, O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll, Myerson, Olson. Olson, Myerson, O'Neill. O'Neill, Myerson, Pulowski. Pulowski, Myerson, Purcell. Purcell, Myerson, Petersburg. Petersburg, Myerson, Pearson. Pearson, Myerson, Pinto. Pinto, Myerson, Poppy. Poppy, Myerson, Poston. Poston, Myerson, Pryor. Pryor, Myerson, Quam. Quam, Myerson, Rarick. Rarick, Myerson, Richardson. Richardson, Myerson, Robbins. Robbins, Myerson, Runbeck. Runbeck, Myerson, Sandell. Sandell, Myerson, Sandsted. Sandsted, Myerson, Salk. Salk, Myerson, Schumacher. Schumacher, Myerson, Schultz. Schultz, Myerson, Scott. Scott, Myerson, Stevenson. Stevenson, Myerson, Sundin. Sundin, Myerson, Swazinski. Swazinski, Myerson, Tabke. Tabke, Myerson, Tice. Tice, Myerson, Torkelson. Torkelson, Myerson, Erdahl. Erdahl, Myerson, Vang. Vang, Myerson, Vogel. Vogel, Myerson, Wagenius. Wagenius, Myerson, Waslowick. Waslowick, Myerson, West. West, Myerson, Winkler. Winkler, Myerson, Walgamot. Walgamot, Myerson, Zhang J. Zhang J. Myerson, Zhang T. Zhang T. Myerson, Joachim. Joachim Myerson, Zerwas. Zerwas Myerson, Speaker Hartman. Mariani.
There being 132 ayes and 0 nays, Robert Myerson has been elected the Chief Sergeant at Arms. Will the Chief Sergeant at Arms come forward and take the oath of office? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which you have just been elected to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. Thank you. Representative Winkler offers the following resolution relating to temporary rules. The Chief Clerk will report the resolution.
Winkler offers the following resolution and moves its adoption. Be it resolved that the temporary rules of the House for the session, the 91st regular session, shall be the same as the permanent rules of the House for the last session, the 90th regular session, as they existed on Sunday, May 20th, 2018, with the following exceptions. Temporary rules of the House for the 91st session shall apply until the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, to be appointed by the Speaker, shall have made its report and new permanent rules have been adopted.
There are copies of the resolution on each of your desks. I recognize the author, the member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler, to explain the resolution.
Madam Speaker, members, and for new members, we have to adopt temporary rules to get us through until we have had an opportunity in the Rules Committee to report out a set of proposed permanent rules for the Minnesota House for this biennium. And so what we are doing in this resolution and in these temporary rules is to basically copy and paste the rules that were in existence in the last 2 years and make changes in them only in 2 respects. The first is to update the committee structure in the House so that it reflects the new committee, the committee structure, the chairs, and the membership that the Speaker has already created. And the second is to make sure that when the Speaker creates a subcommittee of a committee, that the members of that subcommittee do not necessarily need to serve on the higher committee. That is the purpose of the changes to the rules. Otherwise, they are identical. There are 2 handouts I provided for you, and I know that Representative Doubt may have an amendment that he's going to offer. But the 2 handouts have my signature at the bottom, and they are examples of how this committee structure has worked in the past. From 2007 to 2011 under Speaker Kaohly Her. It was a transparent and open process for moving legislation between divisions, in our case of Ways and Means, to make sure that we do not burn up days on the floor just moving paper around, but in fact can move the bills within divisions of Ways and Means by memorandum. The process has worked very well in the past. We expect it to work the same or better in the future. And it is consistent with the goals that the Speaker announced at the beginning of governing with good humor and humility, to effectuate the will of the majority and respect the voice of the minority, and to also, and probably most importantly, ensure that the public is able to review and weigh in on the work that we do here on their behalf. So, members, I would ask for a yes vote on the resolution.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Doubt moves to amend the proposed permanent rules of the House for the 91st session as follows.
I recognize the member from Isanti, Representative Doubt, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I think the amendment's been passed out, but this amendment would basically change the committee structure back to what we are accustomed to here in the Minnesota House, and more importantly than what we're accustomed to, because I know how smart you all are, and you may be able to follow this new system. I assure you that there are a lot of opportunities for this system to go awry and for the public to not be able to follow this system. And I think we need to honor and respect the fact that this is the people's house. And it's great. I know that you all worked very hard to get here. I know that you made some promises when you were out on the campaign trail, and I have a feeling that we'll talk about some of those promises over the course of the next 5 months. But one of those promises, I can assure you, was that you wanted to do the best job you could and the most transparent job that you could representing Minnesotans. So this amendment will put the system back in place that we're used to and the public is used to. And I want to describe for a little bit, Representative Winkler, I got 4 years worth of speeches bottled up in me, so you may want to take a seat. It's been a while since I've been down here. I assure you I will not unleash all of them on you today. But the reality is this is an important issue, and it's not something even on our first ceremonial day that we can let pass. I want to remind you of some things that our new Speaker has said. On November 21st, she said, "I'm hopeful that the Minnesota Senate will partner with us to make the legislature more efficient, more effective, and more transparent." That's what our new Speaker said. And just today, she said there are 2 things we're going to accomplish. One is more transparency, so the public gets to see what we're doing. All the big decisions should get made in the public eye if we can at all have that happen. That's what our new Speaker said just today. And I share that goal. In fact, she's got big shoes to fill. We're coming off of a biennium, which was probably the most effective and most successful biennium in the last 30 years, at least in a generation. Record amount of tax relief, putting money back into Minnesotans' pockets, wage growth, job growth, and something that you all strived for in previous bienniums but fell short of, actually reducing the cost of health care in this state and health insurance in this state for 2 years in a row. And I know the problems that this state faces aren't partisan. I know that the things that Minnesotans care about aren't issues that just one party in this chamber can solve. So it's going to take all of us rolling up our sleeves to continue to work on those big issues that Minnesotans care about. And when a bill gets introduced, and when it gets moved from one committee to the next, we want to make sure that Minnesotans know about it and can come in here and participate in the process. And the way that that has worked in the past is you as a member, and for the new ones, I think you covered this in your orientation, but there's a box right here with the green tag that says Bill Introductions, and there's another one just outside the Speaker's office. You can take a bill that you have drafted with the assistance of some very professional, nonpartisan staff, I'm sure, and drop that into that, introducing a bill here in this chamber. And that bill, the next time we have a session, will get referred to a committee. That's the official action that happens here in this body. We refer it to a committee. And that bill will get a hearing if the committee chair and that committee chooses to give it a hearing. And the public can come in and testify. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, we are representatives. We are the voice of the people back in our districts here on the floor. They can't come here. But they can come to committee. And they can testify and talk about how this bill will impact their lives or their jobs or their schools. And that's a pretty cool thing, if they can follow it, if they know when that bill's going to get a hearing. And if you're a member of a committee, when that bill comes up, you can testify and you can offer amendments. And if your amendments are good and you can win over the support of a majority of the committee members, that bill will get amended. But in the past, it's always been a recommendation. And we made a motion to amend the bill and re-refer it to another committee. And the next time that we met here in this chamber, that would come up as a motion, and the bill didn't actually get amended until this body took action on it. And that amendment was adopted, and the bill was then re-engrossed, which means those professional nonpartisan staff would draft a new version of that bill with that amendment in it, and that bill would then get re-referred to the next committee. And the public could follow that entire process. And it also gave you as a member of this body, even if you didn't sit on that committee, an opportunity to see that bill and to weigh in on it when we took up those motions. So not only are you potentially, I'm going to give you an opportunity to fix this with this amendment, but if we adopt these temporary rules without this amendment, you're not only taking away the public's ability to know what's going on and follow the process and participate in the process, but you're taking away your right as a member of this body every time one of those bills gets amended to weigh in on it, whether you're on the committee or not. And I'm certain when I'm done speaking here, somebody's going to stand up and make some promises to you and assure you that this is all these scenarios that I'm going to lay out for you could never happen. We want you to just trust us. That sounds great. And on the very first day, which is normally a ceremonial day, we should have that spirit of trust and bipartisanship. But I learned from one of our former presidents, trust but verify. There is a way that the majority can make sure that none of those horrible things can ever happen, and I'm giving it to you right here in an amendment to the rules that just makes the rules consistent so that you all get to participate in the process, and more importantly, the people at home can come in, they can follow the process, they can come in and testify on a bill, and they can participate in the process. Seems kind of in the weeds, right, how we move bills around here? Let me tell you what could happen. All right? Now, every one of our very powerful, at least they used to be, very powerful finance committee chairs, you aren't going to get bills referred to your committee anymore. They're going to go to Representative Carlson. He's like the Uber chair now. Uber power. They're all going to go to him, all the finance bills. And then he will, by memo, refer it to a committee. Not you all. You don't get to now make a motion to refer it to a committee and weigh in on that motion and have an opinion about which committee that bill goes to. He will do it, and only he will do it. And he can do it by memo, and the memo can just be turned into our very competent and capable front desk staff, and we're told that they will post that online so that the public will know that that bill was referred to that committee. And that committee can have a hearing. By the way, there's no requirement anymore that that committee has to vote on the bill. Used to be that when you were on a committee, you had some power, right? If you wanted to talk to some of your committee members and convince them that this bill is a bad idea and it shouldn't move forward, you may not get that opportunity anymore. The committee doesn't need to vote on the bill. Representative Carlson can, by memo, grab that bill from a committee without the chair's consent, without the committee's consent, and pull it back to his committee. And by memo, he can give it to another committee. And in the process, it doesn't come here, and we as members of the legislature don't get to weigh in. We don't get to say, should an amendment be adopted or not adopted? Should it move to the next committee or not? That's being taken away from you if you vote for these rules. You won't get that say. He will. He can move it to the next committee by memo, and there it will go for another hearing, maybe not. Maybe it'll get a vote, maybe it won't. And then he will grab that bill from that committee by memo and pull it back to his committee, and by memo give it to another committee. And pull it back and give it to another committee, and pull it back and give it to another committee. Oh, and by the way, there's nothing in the rules. I keep holding up my amendment. I don't have the rules in front of me. But there's nothing in the rules to stop that from all happening in one day. That bill could be in 5 different committees in one day, and there's nothing in these rules to stop that from happening. And if you're a member of the public at home trying to follow this process, good luck. All of this on the day that our new speaker said these words. One of the things we want to accomplish is more transparency so that the public gets to see what we're doing. All the big decisions, maybe that's the catch, all the big decisions should get made in the public eye if we can at all have that happen. That wasn't, by the way, I'm famous for digging stuff up from 5 years ago. She said this today. This is the transparency that this new majority is talking about. And in their very first action here on the House floor, they're going to make this process difficult for the public to follow. Why, on your very first day, when transparency is your goal, are you taking away the transparency that this state expects from this body? Your very first action, and I'm sure, freshmen, they told you in committee, trust Lyndon Carlson, trust us, this will all be fine. But mark my words, they're walking you down the plank. What you have here is going to be the ultimate game of legislative 3-card Monty. You just try to figure out where the bill is. You try to figure out what version of the bill you're voting on, because by the way, this committee can amend it. It can come back to Lyndon Carlson, go to another committee. They won't even have a new engrossed copy. They'll amend the bill. It'll come back to Lyndon Carlson, get referred to another committee. They may amend it again, come back to Lyndon Carlson, go to another committee, and we've never had an engrossed copy of the bill yet. And someone in a nice suit from Belgium is going to stand up and tell us that this will never happen. Please trust us. You know what? There is a way to make sure it never happens. Let's define it in the rules. let's make sure that the public has a chance to follow the process. Let's make sure that we've made it fair for them. We don't care. You know what? We're over here. We're smart. We'll figure out where these bills are. But when somebody wants to drive from Roseau, Minnesota to testify on a bill, they could be halfway here and not make the third committee hearing in one day on the same bill. They won't have a chance. And I know you don't have any members over there from more than 20 miles from the Capitol anymore, but we do. And our constituents want to participate in the process, and they should get to. So sorry, I'm being a little funny, I know, but this is important work. And shake your heads, because they told you in caucus before you came out here, don't worry. Lyndon knows how to do this, and he'll do the right thing. You know what? Trust but verify. There's a way to make sure that Lyndon does the right thing. And this amendment will put the rules into the form that not only are we accustomed to, that, by the way, this new process is not easy for our nonpartisan staff. They're used to the process we have had for years and years. This doesn't make their job easy. There is a way for you to make sure that none of those bad things ever happen, and it's to adopt this amendment. And I'm certain that some other people, Madam Chair may have, or Madam Speaker may have, want to give some input about what their constituents would think about this as well. But I really strongly encourage all the members to vote for this amendment. This is putting it in the form that we're used to, the form that the public can follow, the form that will allow for adequate public notice on when a bill's moving from one committee to the next. And it also doesn't give your power away. If you're a finance chair, you don't have any power anymore. If you're a member of this body and a committee amends a bill, you're not going to get to talk about that anymore on this floor. You're not going to get to decide whether you want to, as a body, adopt that amendment or not before it moves to the next committee. If you adopt these rules without this amendment, you're literally giving away your right to represent your constituents. Is that what you want to do? Is that the transparency that you ran on, that you voted for, that your constituents voted for, that our new speaker spoke about today? Is that the kind of transparency that you want to vote out the door on your very first action? I know this is dumb, right? Process thing. You're watching at home? Fair warning. You're about to see a real game of legislative three-card Monte for the next 5 months. But we as a body have an opportunity to step up and make sure that the people at home get the transparency that they deserve. Please vote for this amendment. It is the right thing to do.
Members, there's a memo on your desk outlining the rules and policies of the House that I intend to enforce as Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I'd also move for a roll call.
One of them is Mason's Section 124, Paragraph 1, which states, in debate, a member must confine their remarks to the question before the House and avoid personalities. It is not the person, but the measure that is the subject of debate, and it is not allowable to arraign the motives of a member, but the nature and consequences of a measure may be condemned in strong terms. Members, please avoid personalities in debate. The member from Winona, Representative Pawlowski. Roll call having been requested. Are there 15 hands? Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Pawlowski.
Madam Speaker, thank you. And members of the body. Representative Dowd, I want to thank you too. I noticed that this isn't exactly the committee structure that we had in the past. On line 120, you have included the Greater Minnesota Jobs and Economic Development Finance Committee. And on line 2.13, you've included the Subcommittee on Legislative Process Reform. Representative Dowd, Madam Speaker, members of the body, I look at this as a signal that the minority and the majority are willing to work on at least two things, and these are two things that we certainly have had issues with in recent elections and during recent sessions. The Greater Minnesota Jobs and Economic Development Finance Committee, I would hope, would restore a new type of outreach that we once had. There were 14 mini sessions of the Minnesota House between 1987 and 1997, where the House took its entire committee structure out to the people of Minnesota and heard from them what the needs were of this state. I can't emphasize enough on line 2.13, the Subcommittee on Legislative Process Reform. I would hope that we as a body would take a serious look at structural changes of the body so we could better serve the people of Minnesota. So I want to thank Representative Daudt for including those, and I want to emphasize that whether the Daudt Amendment is adopted, these are in the other structural amendments by Representative Winkler. So I want to thank the minority for including those.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to members and guests who got tired of the long roll calls by voice and name and were hoping for some bitter partisan combat, welcome to the Minnesota House of Representatives. The speech by the minority leader made a series of accusations about the consequences of these rules, which are not true. This institution has used this format in the past. In fact, has done so for 4 years. The Minnesota Senate has a similar format. And in fact, our own House rules, 6.05b, currently under which is the set of rules adopted by Speaker Daudt and the GOP majority, currently allows a committee chair to refer a bill by memorandum. We have experience doing that. The memorandum on your desk that I passed out is from 2010. It is a series of bill referrals from Lyndon Carlson. It explains where each bill is going to go that day and how. And in addition, I passed out the one example of a bill from 2010, which showed on the index page where each bill moved every single day. The rules that apply to public hearings and notice for committee hearings all stay in place. There is no superpower granted to Representative Carlson, though if I had to pick a member to give it to, it would probably be Representative Carlson. There is no such superpower granted in these rules. We are going to operate in an open and transparent process the same way this has been done before. And I guess, Representative Daudt, I would add that if you think that the rules were so great before, the only 2 words I have for you in response are omnibus prime.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hertas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to rise in support of the Daudt Amendment. And, you know, our founders, when they set up the U.S. Constitution, and as each of us became states and part of this great nation, many of the provisions in our own state constitution oftentimes mirror the U.S. Constitution. And it's important to note that our founders and framers had intended for the legislative process to be slow, to be deliberative, to be thoughtful. And as I view what's being proposed here by the new majority is to expedite the legislative process and to lose some of that transparency along the way. Now, I'd like to refer you back to when you had the majority back in 2013-14. You had invoked a new rule called the 24-hour rule with regard to amendments. And I understand the effectiveness of that. But I have to tell you some of my own experiences with my own constituents. Oftentimes they'd be tracking legislation and they would call me, they say, Representative Hertas, you got to introduce an amendment on that bill tomorrow morning. And I would say, well, I'm sorry, it's too late. Your idea is a good one, but the 24-hour rule has passed and I can no longer offer it. They said, what do you mean? So what I see happening here potentially is, as already described and outlined, the expeditiousness of moving legislation from committee to committee really leaves our folks back home in the dark in terms of being able to opine and contact their representative and make sure that their voice is heard here at the state capitol. So members and new members, I would encourage you to support the Daudt Amendment. Thank you.
The member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. You're the 4th speaker I've served under. I have stood up to object to rural content in 3 of the 4 speakers that we've had. because I've never treated the rules as partisan. I've treated the rules as how this body, and the power comes from the body. We elect the speaker, we decide the rules, the body chooses. And it's not lightly when the body says, we're going to abdicate this power to a group of people, and it's even more important when we abdicate it a great deal of power to one person. And frankly, that's what this does. I like the idea that we, as a body, we can't serve on every committee, but we can have a voice here. We get calls, we get texts, emails. People let us know, and we can stand on this floor and speak about the bill as it's being referred, or say that we want amendment. We can do all these things. We have the power. In order to have things work more efficiently, rules are changed to make things go easier. But at some point, we must realize the responsibility and the power lies in this body. And this body should not abdicate that power lightly. And I stand against the concentration of power that the unamended proposal before us has. The amendment does correct that over-granting abdication of power to a single member. And that's nothing to regards of any member, but that's the regards of this body. It's our duty to do the best job we can. Sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's long and drawn out. But a good process requires us as a body to act with due diligence and integrity on what we think is right. We all have maybe different definitions of that. And I know that in rural fights before, there have been members present on both sides of the aisle, whether they're majority or minority, who have stood up on principle and said, I don't think this is right. And I'm saying I don't think this is right, and I think we need the Dowd Amendment. Thank you.
The member from Blue Earth, Representative Considine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Didn't really want to get up today. And I'm sorry, Speaker Doubt said speeches or jokes he's been storing up. Last year, biennium, the first week, we sat in here and we saw Representative Scott get up and say, we had public input, when the record clearly showed we had not. That the only person that had spoken in her committee was the commissioner, and that she closed it. And at that point, Representative Dowd, we voted on what the truth was. That may be some of the most disingenuous remarks I've ever heard. I'm sorry. Thank you.
The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This was not what I had intended for the day, but this is surprising. And I read the rules as we were heading into it, and I looked at what it was going to do, and just to make sure what it did, I asked some of our long-tenured House nonpartisan staff, what would this do? And the first question that I asked that I wanted to make sure that I knew the answer to was this. If I had a bill in front of a committee that I served on, or someone else had a bill in front of a committee that I served on, and an activist from their district wanted to come down, would it be simple for them to track the bill, and would it be easy for them to see the amendments that were being added? And the House nonpartisan staff said very clearly, Representative, no. It would be very difficult to track what was going on with this new system. And I was surprised, because I'd heard from so many of you that this was an important issue for you to make sure that we made the public aware of what was going on, and we allowed the public to weigh in on things so we could hear what was important to all Minnesotans. I think tomorrow many of you will be going to a thing on One Minnesota, Well, this doesn't quite smack of that. So I read some of your web pages because I'm a curious guy and I don't sleep much at night, so I have free time on my hands. And I read now Representative Wolgamott, and I'm wondering, Madam Speaker, if Representative Wolgamott would yield to a question.
He will. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Wolgamott, welcome. I have a question for you. You said on your webpage that you wanted to advocate for open and transparent governance. No more backroom deals. That's from your webpage. Checked it just a second ago. It's still there. Knowing what House nonpartisan staff that has served here for dozens of years just said about the ability to track amendments and to track when a bill is up, is this what you meant when you talked about full and transparent government for your constituents? Is this what you meant to say when you also said that you believed our elected officials should be accountable to the people? Well, my question to you is, how will your constituents feel about this, and how are they going to track a bill that you may have up? Because according to House nonpartisan staff, that's going to be pretty difficult.
The member from Sherburne, Representative Wolgamott.
Madam Speaker, I'm very confident, based on my conversations with my constituents, that I'm in an excellent position to communicate with them and let them know what I'm working on. I've been in the process of using social media and tools online to connect with constituents. My constituents have already been reaching out via phone and email and text message, Facebook, Twitter. There are all kinds of mediums for my constituents to get in touch with me, and I do pride myself on that accessibility. And as we look forward, I look forward to working with each of the chairs and our leadership to making sure that my constituents' voices are heard, that their concerns are met, and that they have the ability to track what I'm working on and what we're working on to make their lives better. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Wolgamott. That wasn't a lot of an answer, and we can talk about this later. But you being able to communicate to your constituents isn't going to take in the totality of the many bills that we have going through here. We have thousands of bills over the course of a biennium, and they're going to want to know what might affect them that you may not be aware of. This doesn't afford for that. So, members, I would encourage you to vote in the affirmative for the Dowd Amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Freeborn, Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and members. It's good to be back here, isn't it? I want to say transparency is important to this entire body. And I think that the intentions of the other side are good, but I think we need this Dowd Amendment to assure that transparency takes place. There's just too much opportunity for misuse or mistakes or whatever. And I think of the important topics that go through this body. One of them is near and dear to my heart, which would be school safety. And last year, this body actually passed a lot of really great funding and policy that would help with school safety. And the public followed that. They followed that by being able to look at the various engrossments and follow the bills that are their passion. And school safety is one of those passions. I'm concerned that the public is going to be left out. And I know people back home want to follow these topics that they're passionate about. So I would respectfully ask that we support the Dowd Amendment, which would put that rubber stamp of assurance that we will operate in a transparent way. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Waseca, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity here. You know, I support the Dowd Amendment as well. You know, there's one thing to say and give lip service that we're going to do this or we're going to do that. But there's another issue when we put it down in writing in which we get it done. Earlier, we heard about a book called Who Moved My Cheese? I've read it. It's an old book, and it's a pretty decent book talking about four mice and how, or a group of mice and how they handle change. And I'm going to reference another book. It's one that I've had an opportunity to reference earlier this month. It's by a judge from New York. You probably know her, Judge Judy. And the name of the book is Don't Pee on My Leg and Tell Me It's Raining. The reality is that oftentimes here in the legislature we have what I'd call lip service, in which we we try to get people directed into a different direction than what we're really doing. And here is another example of that opportunity where we are saying, you know, this is what we're intending to do, but I know the rules say something else, but we're only intending it to do it this particular way. This is an opportunity for us, really, with the Dowd Amendment, to actually put teeth into the direction that we want the rules to be followed, the direction that we want bills to be managed, and how we can tell the constituents out there how they can actually follow the rules itself. Our best intentions doesn't justify or doesn't correct the rule if it really is incorrect and hard to follow. If it was me and I was trying to approve an amendment or a bill and I was all set to testify in front of a committee and it all of a sudden got pulled by memorandum to someplace else, that's difficult. It's difficult for me to get testifiers and people that would like to testify for it. So in closing, I would just say, please don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Thank you.
The member from Roseau, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and congratulations on your new speakership. Members, Minority Leader Dowd referenced Roseau, and obviously that's where I live. It's 360 miles from the capital. Okay? I'm concerned that if bills are scheduled, you know, oftentimes the bills that I have, and I know Representative Purcell lives up north, Representative Mary Murphy lives kind of in central Minnesota in Duluth, but I'm kidding. They've heard that before. New Representative Lislegard, he knows where Roseau is. He knows where Pine Creek and Ross is, too. They're a long ways from here. I've had people come from Kitson County to testify on bills, because the bills that largely I bring forward are bills that are the result of conversations that I've had with the folks back home. And they have an issue, they have a concern, and they would like to have that issue or that concern addressed. It might have something to do with the county commissioners, it might have something to do with agriculture. I've been very active in the mining industry and trying to fix things with regards to, for example, the wild rice standard. We have a lot of topics here. Representative Keel has been very instrumental in the elder care situation. I'm concerned that this, what I would refer to as a centralizing of power, is going to make it more difficult for folks in Crookston or Thief River Falls or Hallock to be able to come to the Capitol and testify on important issues to them. We spent a lot of time in the last session talking about the wild rice standard. We had several different hearings. We'd like to be able to make sure that people can get here and know ahead of time when things are going to be scheduled. You know, Representative Lesh, I'd like to correct one thing that he said today. He talked about, in the past, something about your shenanigans. Well, I thought that they were our shenanigans when he referred to that. But I'm also having some trouble with these here, okay? Oh, your is kind of an inclusive word. All right, I gotcha. We've also heard Representative Hansen talk about things in the past with regards to dark of the night. I'm concerned about that. I think we need more openness. We need more transparency. I heard Representative Hornstein say today, Representative Hornstein, that's a joke that he and I have between us. He said today that we have to give all people a voice at the decision table. And I don't believe that the new set of rules that you would like to impose are going to do that. Okay? Representative Mary Murphy said in her eloquent, maybe lengthy, I'm not sure, nomination of Representative Hortman to be Speaker, she said, the Speaker has to listen to and hear the voice of the minority. I'm not sure that this new process is going to do that. I strongly encourage support of the Dowd Amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, personal privilege.
State your point of personal privilege.
Members, and this actually is to all the guests who are present, there is a reception downstairs that is ready to go. There's food and beverages, and I would invite, and there's a long list of members who have risen to be heard on this topic of our temporary rules. And so I would encourage or invite any members, guests who are here, if they would like to leave the chamber at this time and go down and begin to enjoy the reception downstairs immediately below this chamber, I would encourage you to feel free to do so at this time rather than feel like you are stuck here on the floor.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Lesh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, members, it's on. In your first attempt to derail the agenda of Minnesota, of which voters duly voted on in November, the Minnesota House GOP has chosen transparency as your watchword, as your objection. This, on the very first legislative day since your failed and infamous omnibus prime, as brought up by the majority leader. That bill, members, was a turd floating in the punch bowl of transparency. Okay, you clearly didn't bring your A game today. I'm disappointed. Let's move on.
The member from Dakota, Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And first of all, to my colleagues, remember the best gift you can give the staff, your family, and your members is brevity. Just a suggestion. So with that, would the majority leader yield for a quick question?
He will. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Majority Leader Winkler, on the listing of your amendment on page 4, line 27, I see that the Commerce Committee is listed outside of the divisions of the Ways and Means Committee. Does this mean that the Commerce Department's finance accounts are not in the Commerce Committee?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Garofalo, it is outside of the Ways and Means Committee, and therefore it will not handle the amendments.
Representative Garofalo.
Well, Madam Speaker, members, just regardless of what we do on the Dowd amendment today, I would urge the majority to take a second look at that and either get rid of the division structure or take Representative Halverson's committee and put it underneath that structure so that the finance accounts for the Commerce Department are with the Commerce Committee.
The member from Candio High, Representative Baker.
And thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, excuse me, and again, congratulations on this great honor. I'm excited to be back, everybody, and again, welcome the freshmen especially. Part of Minnesota history is happening today, and I'm glad to be part of this. I do want to stand up in support of the Dowd Amendment, only for the reason of I'm still feeling like I'm a newbie here. I've only been here for 4 complete session years, so I'm entering my third term. But I will tell you this, that when I see committee coming back to this body to when we refer a new bill or a re-referral to a different committee, it has a quick stop right here. It literally takes, in my history of being here, it's about 60 to 90 seconds to talk about that re-referral. It doesn't take long at all. It's a heads up for us to say that we've all heard it, we've all agreed with it, and if we don't agree with it here, we can say something about it as a whole body. I am really looking forward to working with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle on many issues. Representative Eklund, we're gonna do good stuff with rural broadband. We're gonna do some great stuff, Representative Olson, on opioids. I can't wait to dive in, and my conversations with you have been very productive up to now, and I expect nothing less than that going forward. But what I have learned in the past is when I have been very active with opioids and addiction, and when we line up folks from around the state that want to come in here and tell us our story, moms and dads that have lost kids, parents and wives and husbands that are in real need of telling their story because we have some serious issues to fix. We need to make sure we don't have a super chair or something like that that could be re-referred without this proper process. So as a member of this body, I am really looking forward to some good work, but I want to make sure that we keep it as clear and transparent as can be. And I stand just again to ask for your support today, the first day, to make sure that if anything, we go a little too far, or we make sure that we protect every bit of transparency we can today. So I support the Dowd Amendment.
The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I have long avoided getting into any process debates. Making a little bit of an exception today. Transparency certainly is important, and a lot of the concerns that I have been mentioned by other folks, but in the interest of clarity, I just want to ask a couple of direct, simple questions. Would the majority speaker yield, please?
The majority leader will yield. Representative Erdahl.
Thank you. Again, in the spirit of directness and clarity, are bills going to be given, are we going to have bill hearings in committee?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Erdahl, yes.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Winkler. Okay, so bills are going to be heard in committee. If I am so honored to be given a bill hearing for one of my bills, do I have assurance so that I can line up testifiers and bring people in? Do I have assurance that that bill will not be rescheduled, that I will be given time enough to notify and allow people to come in, and that the hearing will be held as scheduled?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Erdahl, yes, you will have ample time to schedule testifiers, prepare your own testimony on behalf of your own bill, and in fact, the transparency and openness and notice standards of the House are going to be substantially better this year than they have been in recent years.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Winkler, well, that answers questions. I mean, transparency is important, and I would hope that if we do not adopt this amendment, which I will support, that the majority is true to their words and does make sure that we have the adequate time that we need to schedule our testifiers and have our hearings.
The member from Douglas, Representative Franson. The member from Wabasha, Representative Driscowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members, I rise in support of the Dowd Amendment. We have in front of us the proposed temporary rules, and for those watching at home and for those that have been sitting through this with us here today, you really wonder what is being discussed. But this is fundamental to how the legislature, in this case, how the House of Representatives operates and brings the discussion of the people of Minnesota through this place. And so it's fundamentally important. What we see proposed here and what we're attempting to, what the amendment attempts to amend is, members, a structure, a committee structure that places one committee to be responsible for the entire nearly $50 billion operating budget of the state of Minnesota. Under one committee, every one of those finance committees that is going to be crafting bills to handle its portion of the nearly $50 billion budget is a subcommittee of one committee in what is being proposed by the majority here today. And so I will just, for the people at home, let you know what those committees are, subcommittees are. So the Ways and Means Committee and what is being proposed by the majority, the Ways and Means Committee is going to have control of the full $50 billion budget. And under them are various subcommittees: the Property and Local Tax, the Agriculture and Food Finance and Policy Division, the Capital Investment Division, the Education Finance Division and its Division of Early Childhood Finance and Policy, the Environment and Natural Resources Finance Division, the Greater Minnesota Jobs and Economic Development Finance Division and its Water Division, subdivision, the Energy and Climate Finance and Policy Division. Members and people at home, these are all subcommittees of the Ways and Means Committee that is going to control the entire $50 billion budget of the state of Minnesota and what is being proposed by the majority here today. Also, other subcommittees include the Energy and Climate Finance and Policy Division, the Greater Minnesota Jobs and Economic Development Finance Division, the Health and Human Services Finance Division and its subcommittees of long-term care and early childhood finance and policy, the Higher Education Finance and Policy Division, excuse me, Madam Speaker, I need to take a breath, the Housing Finance and Policy Division, the Jobs and Economic Development Finance Division, the Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Division, the Legacy Finance Division, the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Reform Finance and Policy Division, and its subcommittee, the Corrections Division, and if I can turn the page, Madam Speaker, the State Government Finance Division, the Transportation Finance and Policy Division, and the Veterans and Military Affairs Finance and Policy Division. Members, guests, and people at home, those are all, under what is being proposed by the majority, those are all subcommittees of one humongous committee that is going to control the $50 billion budget of the state of Minnesota in what they're proposing. So Representative Daudt was correct. What that is going to allow is for the majority to basically grease the skids of their operations and run their agenda through so quickly that the people of Minnesota will not be able to keep up. And Madam Speaker, I applaud you on getting rid of the mute button. You did a great job. I disagreed with that, as many people in the old majority did. It was wrong. You did it right there. You've communicated that to people. That was a right thing to do. Madam Speaker, I and other members of the minority have signed on to a bill with Representative Freiberg to take a look at our single subject clause of the state constitution and bring some refinements to that so we don't have the omnibus prime that happened when Democrats were in control, that also happened when Republicans were in control. Representative Liebling, you were arguing it last time. I was arguing against it the time before. It was wrong then. It was wrong the other time. You're right. We need to make some changes to that, bring transparency so that people can understand what is passing through this House. And members, Madam Speaker, people of Minnesota watching, and guests here today, this proposal by the majority goes completely opposite of those things I just mentioned and takes away the ability for the people to know what is going on here. Those bills are going to move with their amendments under what is being proposed by the majority at light speed. Not only will members in this body have a hard time knowing what is where and when and why and how, but the people of Minnesota will not have a clue what is going on in things that matter so much to them. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. I urge your support of the Daudt amendment.
The member from Isanti, Representative Daudt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. And for those of you that are new, this means we're wrapping up. So that's the good news. The bad news is I didn't hear a lot of support from your side of the aisle. And that's not only bad for people in this chamber and the promises that you made to your constituents, but it's bad for people at home. I want to talk a little bit about what the rules say. In your desk, our very capable staff has placed a copy of our House rules. Rule 6.20, third paragraph. As far as practicable, the chair of a committee must give 3 days' notice of the date, time, and place and agenda for each meeting. The agenda part of that is what's important, because that's what tells people what bills are going to be heard that day. And if you're at home, you care a lot about a bill and you want to come in and testify, you kind of need that notice, right? Particularly if you're coming from Roseau, not to pick on Roseau. They're smarter in Roseau than most of us, so they'll probably have a better shot at figuring this out. But when it takes 6 hours to drive here, it's pretty tough. And you certainly don't want to drive down when the bill's not being heard. And it's tough to leave early enough if this list, I appreciate Representative Carlson handing out this memo. This is an example of what was done in 2010. And the way that I heard this described was, today, we'll put out today, this is what's happening, this is what bills are moving around. It's pretty tough if that comes out in the morning and a bill's going to be in committee today to leave early enough from Roseau, Minnesota to get here to testify on that bill. So we're not really giving people an opportunity to participate in the process. And I get it. You're in the majority. Sometimes the promises go out the window. We talk about transparency, but it's just talk. And we've heard promises made here that say that, no, these things aren't going to happen. But there's only one way to ensure that they won't. It's to put it in our rules. And so what did the real difference make? What was the real difference? When a bill was in committee, and you're a member of that committee, and you voted in favor or against, if that bill had enough votes, maybe it got amended, but if it had enough votes, then it passed out of committee. And then it came here to the House floor. And that took time. And that gave people notice of where a bill was headed. This set of rules, without this amendment, takes away the insurance policy that you'll have some notice. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it's important. And that's why we're talking about it today. I know you don't want to. I know that somebody already improperly made a point of personal privilege. It's in the memo today. You misused that by talking about the thing downstairs. But the reality is, we're off to a grand start here. The reality is people want to participate in their government. They want to know what their government's doing. And they want to have some insurance that they can participate, that they have enough notice to participate. They don't want to play three-card Monty. So I want to ask the majority leader to yield for a question, if he would.
He will. Representative Dowd.
So in the rules, it talks about a 3-day notice. Can you just give a commitment here? It sounds like the majority is probably not going to support my amendment to the rules, and you seem pretty intent on removing the transparency that exists there for the public. But can you commit that bills will not be heard in committee without a 3-day notice?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Dowd, just to be clear, we are debating today temporary rules which will be in place until such time as we bring forward a report on permanent rules. I would anticipate that the long-standing language that you yourself used regarding as far as practicable on the 3-day notice for committee hearings will be the same. It could be different. We have not had a chance to discuss that, but I anticipate that the long-standing recognition that 3 days is not always possible, although it is desirable, will remain the same. And I think, there were a number of issues at the end of last session related to conference committees that never met in public, provisions that were never passed by either the House or Senate being inserted at the last minute, an enormous bill that was like the biggest ball of twine in Texas, and it all went up in flames. All of those things that happened under the current rules. And however, I did not hear anything about a 3-day rule in committee being an issue, and to the extent it is, I think that we can discuss it, but I think it will come back much the same. And so I don't anticipate that we will be any less transparent than your majority. In fact, I anticipate we will be a great deal more transparent, and that there will be more than adequate time and notice to have bills heard, testifiers notified, and for the public to weigh in, just as I had discussed with Representative Erdahl.
Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I didn't get to hear what I wanted to hear there, unfortunately. I was really hoping we'd hear a commitment that you wanted to be transparent. I mean, this is about what you've said to the public. This is about what you've said, that you want to be transparent, not about what happened last year or, comparing yourself to something that you've complained about. This is about cleaning it up, right? And making sure that you're going to do things transparent. It's also about making sure that your actions match your words. So what I didn't hear is that you're not willing to make a commitment to the public that they will get a 3-day notice. Under our current rules, they were kind of ensured a 2-day notice because the bill had to come here to the House. That committee would pass the bill out and make a recommendation that it get referred to a certain committee, so you kind of knew where it was headed, right? Now we're not going to do that anymore, but that's the old process. You kind of knew where it was headed. Then it came here when we had our next session, and we got to debate it and decide, do we like the amendments? If so, yes, we'll pass it, and it gets to go to that committee. It gets referred to that committee. So you kind of knew where it was headed. You kind of had at least a 2-day notice. Can you, if he would yield to another question?
He will. Representative Dowd.
Thank you. Can you, Representative Winkler, just at least promise people at home, make a commitment that they'll get a 2-day notice when a bill's coming up in committee? Can you make that commitment to Minnesotans?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Dowd, I can commit to you that I think that the committee rules will be roughly the same as they were under your leadership. And I believe that that was transparent enough at the committee stage of the process. I would also just like to point out that you've kind of put out this red herring or this straw man about a lack of transparency, but Rule 6.05B of your rules says the chair of a committee may refer a bill within the possession of the committee to a division of that committee. It goes on to say that a committee chair referring or recalling a bill under this paragraph must give written notice of the referral or recall as soon as possible to the chief clerk for publication. To the extent practical, the chief clerk must attempt to provide notice on the House website of referrals and recalls of bills under this paragraph. Those are your rules.
Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And you know what? I maybe should have just had you read that right away because you're making my point exactly. Those rules under the old system where not every finance committee was a division of Ways and Means, and that's the real problem here. Those rules didn't allow a member who's not on a committee by memo to grab a bill from a committee and move it to another committee. It's exactly what you're proposing that gets rid of that system. Now bills will move just because one member of a committee that he may not sit on can grab them out of that by memo and put them in another committee. And you can assure us that this isn't going to happen. But if it's not going to happen, then we don't need the rules to say that. Then you should accept my amendment to the rules. If the promises are that you're not going to do that, then just let the public know. Give them a fighting chance to participate in the process here. Let them know that you're not going to do that by putting it in the rules. It's funny that it's literally the first day. Oh, and these are just the temporary rules, and gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could all go downstairs and eat some cookies together? By the way, don't pay any attention to what you're voting for here. This isn't going to have any impact. That's not transparency. Representative Winkler, I asked you if you would give the public 2 days' notice of a bill coming up in committee, and you failed to give them that commitment. Please, I'm going to ask one more time if he would yield for a question.
He will. Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would you please make the commitment on this floor that you will give people at least a 24-hour notice before a bill comes up in committee? Because if you can't make that commitment on this floor, then the public, if they're driving in from Roseau or from Rosemont, maybe in most cases, aren't going to be able to participate in the process here in the Minnesota House. I'm actually disappointed that you can't do a 3-day notice and that you can't do a 2-day notice. But what that tells me is that you plan to move bills with less than a 3-day notice and less than a 2-day notice. Please tell me that you can make the commitment that you won't move a bill in this chamber from one committee to the next without a 24-hour notice of a committee hearing to the public. Can you make that commitment today?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Dowd, I have already answered your question. I do not anticipate that the committee hearing deadlines are going to substantially change from past practice or from your own rules.
Representative Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You can't commit to the public that they will get a 24-hour notice of a bill coming up in committee. Members, the red flag's going up. If this doesn't raise the flag for you that something's going on, doesn't mean we can't do this in 3 weeks when we adopt the real rules or whenever they come up, the permanent rules. But this is a big deal. These are the temporary rules that we're going to operate under. And promises have been made, not just by your new speaker, but by most of you, that you want this body to operate with real transparency. And I know they told you that's probably no big deal. Nobody's ever going to do this, right? Don't pay any attention. Let's eat cookies. This is just a procedural vote. But what you're doing today, and your majority leader just failed to make the most basic promise to a Minnesotan who wants to participate in the legislative process that they will have a chance. And this morning, our new speaker said these words: there are two things we're trying to accomplish. One is more transparency, so the public gets to see what we're doing. All the big decisions should get made in the public eye if we can at all have that happen. One is more transparency. Would he yield for another question?
He will. Representative Dowd.
So, Representative Winkler, you have failed to make the most basic promise to Minnesotans that 3 days, which is in our rules, and it says practicable, right? And you failed to make the promise that they can have at least 2 days' notice. And I gave you an opportunity. I feel like it was kind of a lifeline, or like I was throwing you a life preserver there. Just 24 hours. And you failed to be able to tell Minnesotans that they can expect 24 hours notice when a bill's going to come up, so that they can come in and testify for or against that bill. When your new speaker, which I know you're proud of her, when she said these words today, is this the kind of transparency you think she was talking about?
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, Representative Dowd, when your amendment to the resolution came to the desk today, we had three options. The first was to make a motion to lay it on the table, which is non-debatable. There would be no debate, no discussion about this whatsoever. We would have a vote and we would be done. The second option was re-referred to the Rules Committee, which is essentially to avoid a discussion of whether we would take up your amendment today and kind of send it over and bury it. And the third was to have an open debate and a vote on the floor today on your resolution, or on your amendment to the resolution. And I decided that we should just have an open debate and vote. So I think on our very first day, we are indeed being transparent and not avoiding whatever kind of statement or political message you are trying to deliver today.
Representative Dowd.
You know, I ought to rise to a point of order under questioning motives. You shouldn't assume that I'm standing here for any other reason than what I have told you. And I hope that you won't in the future. What I want to do is make sure that somebody from Roseau, Minnesota has a fighting chance to come and participate in the legislative process. And I've given you 3 opportunities to make a commitment that they will have some amount of time of notice so that they can actually get here to participate in the process. I don't know what statement you thought I was trying to make. What I actually want is the open and transparent process that you all said you wanted, that your speaker said today that she wanted. And what we're doing is, hey, quick, let's just change the rules so we can go down and have some cookies. Pay no attention to what we're voting on. This stuff has an impact. Legislating is important. That's why you're here. You all worked really hard to get here. And your first recorded vote is going to be to give your power away to Lyndon Carlson so that you can't weigh in on amendments and you can't weigh in on whether a bill goes from one committee to another. And the worst part is you're taking away the public's ability to participate in the process. I know you probably are annoyed that we're having a real conversation about things that will impact Minnesotans. I hope you're not, because this is a big deal. But today's your opportunity. I'm actually surprised, Representative Winkler, that you haven't said, you know what, let's just go back to the way of doing it. We'll have this discussion in an open and transparent way over the next 3 weeks, and we'll all convince you that it's the right thing to do. But we're not. We're going to quick make this change now so that we can, move bills around, play 3-card Monte without the public having a shot. That's not the kind of transparency that I think that you all intended. And you may get sick of me over the next 5 months when I point out that your actions don't match your words. And mark my word, when that happens, I will be here to hold you accountable. And this is your first opportunity to join me in living up to the promises you made on the campaign trail about transparency and wanting this place to work for all Minnesotans. Wanting this to be part of the one Minnesota that you all campaigned on. This is your first opportunity. It's not that big of a deal for us to operate the way this chamber has for all but 4 of the last 150 some odd years. So please live up to your commitment that you made to your constituents and vote with me today. Adopt this amendment to the temporary rules, and let's go eat some cookies.
Any further discussion on the proposed amendment to the temporary rules? The member from Hennepin, Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker and members, I would urge a red vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. The clerk will close the roll. There being 59 ayes and 74 nays, the motion does not prevail. The amendment is not adopted. The order of business before the House is the Winkler motion on the temporary rules. Any further discussion? The member from Isanti, Representative Doughton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would ask members for a red vote against these temporary rules. They do not contain the kind of transparency that all of you promised when you campaigned. This is your last opportunity to live up to those promises. Please vote no on adopting these rules. And I'd request a roll call vote, please.
A roll call having been requested, seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, members, I would urge a green vote on the adoption of the temporary rules. The discussion we've had has been long and largely inaccurate. We've actually had a long history of doing things this way. Not in the last 4 years, I would grant you, but in the long history of the state and this House, it has been frequent that the Appropriations Committee had divisions underneath it. This is a new set of names for a very long-standing practice, and I would urge members to vote green for transparency.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the temporary rules. The clerk will close the roll. There being 74 ayes and 59 nays, the motion prevails and the temporary rules are adopted. Representative Olson offers the following resolution. The clerk will report the resolution.
Olson offers the following resolution and moves its adoption. Resolved that the chief clerk be instructed to inform the Senate by message that the House is duly organized pursuant to law.
I recognize the member from St. Louis, Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The resolution in front of us just lets the Senate know that the House is duly in order.
Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The resolution is adopted. There's a resolution at the desk. Representative Olson offers the following resolution. The clerk will report the resolution.
Resolved that the Speaker appoint a committee of 5 members of the House to notify the Governor that the House of Representatives is now duly organized pursuant to law and ready to receive any messages he may desire to give them.
I recognize the member from St. Louis, Representative Olson, to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This resolution lets the governor know that the House is duly in order.
Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Those opposed to the resolution, please say nay. The motion is adopted. Announcement by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. The Speaker announces the appointment of the following members of the House to the committee to notify the Governor that the House is now duly organized, ready to receive any messages he may desire to give them. Becker Finn, Xiong T, Richardson, Robbins, and Demuth. The committee members just named should meet immediately in the Governor's office to notify the Governor that the House is now organized. The committee will then return to the House chamber. Later in today's session, the Speaker will call on Representative Becker Finn for her report.
Representative Winkler offers the following resolution. The clerk will report the resolution.
Winkler offers the following resolution and moves its adoption. Resolved that the necessary employees as directed by the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration be authorized by the House effective today, Tuesday, January 8th, 2019, to better expedite the business of the House.
Representative Winkler to explain the resolution.
Madam Speaker, this resolution allows us to hire the staff that will allow us to do the work on behalf of the people of Minnesota, and I would urge a yes vote.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Since the resolution is an expenditure of money pursuant to our rules, there will be a roll call. The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 130 ayes and 0 nays, the resolution is adopted. Announcement by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. The Speaker announces the appointment of Representatives Pawlowski, Marquardt, Poppy, Olson, Halverson, and Albright as Speakers pro tem for the 2019-2020 session.
Announcement by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. The Speaker announces the appointment of the following members of the House to the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration. Winkler, Chair. Her, Vice Chair. Becker Finn, Carlson L., Freiberg, Hassan, Howard, Lilly, Olson, Pawlowski, Pinto, Schultz, Albright, Baker, Doubt, Drazkowski, Garofalo, New, and O'Neill.
Members, the appointment of other standing committee assignments and the new committee meeting schedule will be published in today's journal. Representative Winkler offers the following resolution. The clerk will report the resolution.
Winkler offers the following resolution and moves its adoption. Resolved that the selection of permanent desks shall be directed by the Speaker as follows. that the DFL Majority Caucus shall occupy Sections 3, seats 60 to 62, and seats 65 to 68, Section 4, seats 70 to 97, Section 5, seats 99 to 119, and Section 6, seats 120 to 138. All members of the Majority Caucus shall be seated in the manner prescribed by the DFL Majority Caucus. 2, that the Republican Minority Caucus shall occupy Sections 1, seats 1 to 19, Section 2, seats 22 to 39, Section 3, seats 42 to 56, and seats 57 to 59. All members of the Minority Caucus shall be seated in the manner prescribed by the Republican Minority Caucus. 3, that the new House Republican Caucus shall occupy Section 2, seats 40 and 41, and Section 3, seats 63 and 64. All members of the new House Republican Caucus shall be seated in the manner prescribed by the new House Republican Caucus.
I recognize Representative Winkler, who will explain the resolution.
Madam Speaker and members, for reasons unclear to me, we have to have a resolution on desks, and I would urge you to vote yes.
Is there any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The resolution is adopted. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I have the honor to announce that the Senate of the State of Minnesota is now duly organized pursuant to law with the election of the following officers: Jeremy R. Miller, President; Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate; Colleen J. Pacheco, First Assistant Secretary of the Senate; Michael R. Lynn, Second Assistant Secretary of the Senate; Melissa Mapes, Engrossing Secretary; Sven K. Lindquist, Sergeant-at-Arms; Marilyn Logan, Assistant Sergeant-at-Arms; and Pastor Mike Smith, Chaplain. The message is signed by Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, this is to notify you that the Senate is now duly organized pursuant to the Minnesota Constitution and Minnesota statutes. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate.
Announcements. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker and members, just a few things. First of all, I announced earlier that there's a reception downstairs. I haven't heard if it's still ongoing or if the cookies are still available or not, but it's supposed to be right down below us. I've also been asked that first-term members join together in the retiring room for a group photo to commemorate this occasion. And finally, I would like to announce that on Thursday's floor session, we will have an opportunity to share remembrances and stories of former Representative Tom Rukavina.
Any further announcements? The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'd like to announce that as the member who represents Darwin, Minnesota, and the biggest ball of twine made by one man, that I resent the implication that there's a ball of twine in Texas.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Thursday, January 10th, 2019.
Representative Winkler moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn until 11:30 a.m. Thursday, January 10th, 2019. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House be now adjourned.
Representative Winkler moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House is adjourned.
You're watching legislative coverage from the Minnesota State Capitol. Produced as a public service by House Public Information Services and Senate Media Services.
How did day one go?
Well, day one went kind of as expected. I figured there'd be a little transition period while people adjust to their new roles. But we're really excited to get to work on the Minnesota Values Plan. We're really looking forward to tomorrow and unveiling our first 10 bills, really diving into making sure all Minnesotans have a world-class education, affordable and accessible health care, and
How did day one go?
Well, day one went kind of as expected. I figured there'd be a little transition period while people adjust to their new roles. But we're really excited to get to work on the Minnesota Values Plan. We're really looking forward to tomorrow and unveiling our first 10 bills, really diving into making sure all Minnesotans have a world-class education, affordable and accessible health care, and economic prosperity that reaches every Minnesotan. Really, right now we have pretty good economic prosperity, but it needs to reach all Minnesotans.
What is going to be your first bill that you get on the floor? Will that indicate your priority?
Well, there's two categories of bills we're looking at. First, we're looking at the major priorities of Minnesotans. That's education, healthcare, economic prosperity, investing in infrastructure. Those will take longer. The other category of bills we're looking at are things that should have been done last session, but they were jammed in a 990-page bill that became known as Omnibus Prime. And so many really simple things, not that exciting of things, that could have gotten done and should have gotten done were vetoed. Because there were controversial items in that very large bill.
What are those examples?
An example might be releasing the federal money so that Steve Simon can get money to secure our election system. A lot of technical language.
And yes, our first bills will indicate our priorities.
Are you calling it the Minnesota?
I mean, not necessarily the first bill on the
Yes.
floor.
Go ahead.
Is there any rush on the tax code, on the tax conformity?
No, the Minnesota Department of Revenue has done excellent work to get us ready to file our taxes this year, so there's no rush on that. It's definitely important, but it's not urgent that we move quickly on that.
You made a call to take off the red and blue jerseys. Didn't seem like we saw that today.
Well, here on the House floor, we will have spirited debate. We will have disagreement. That's what we're here to do. I think you saw some good humor in the debate. So people shouldn't think that just because we should avoid being partisan that we shouldn't have spirited debate. I understand Representative Dowd has some strong feelings, and we'll hear about those.
You said that there are 2 gun bills in there at any time?
Yes.
What will they do? What are the chances that they get through the legislature?
Well, we control the Minnesota House of Representatives, and we feel very strongly that Minnesotans have made it loud and clear they are ready for gun violence prevention measures, common sense reforms. And I expect that the 2 measures that we'll introduce in the first 10 bills will make it across the House floor, and we will send them to the Senate. It is less certain what will happen in the Minnesota Senate.
Is the suit from Belgium?
I feel like that's a personal question.
Wow.
Section 124 Masons. We don't let that. We don't let those.
Former Speaker that was doing is that he's actually trying to get your new members to distrust leadership. Is that the ploy that's going to be?
That has been a ploy of minority leaders as long as I have been here. I remember Minority Leader Marty Seifert referred to us as the silence of the lambs, and that we were going to suffer the wrath of Khan if we didn't go along with what they were doing. So that kind of ploy in trying to cause confusion or uncertainty amongst members about whether the leadership is leading them well or not is a typical ploy. It wasn't too surprising.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hope you get some cookies.
I hope that when we pass it, whenever we process,
Representative Dowd. Representative. Representative Dowd, what was the rules fight all about in your mind?
well, it was about transparency. About due process, whether it be a gun or their car or their home or anything that a Minnesotan owns, our Constitution gives them the right to have due process, and we're going to protect that right.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you all. Good. Thank you all.